It's amazing how everyone can have a different spin on it depending on, I guess, what party you want to win and what your take on
Isn't
it
it
is. But
crazy? Since social media has gotten larger and people have kind of spread ideas around about how to not pay taxes and long waits at the landlord tenant board,
yeah,
like since I guess COVID, that probably accelerated. How often do people fuck around?
I mean more now than last year because the market is not as tight. So, and the economy's not as good, so people will have more complaints. Again, we run it like an institutional investment, even though we're not an institution. So, we're fortunate to not let people take advantage and to, move quickly. So it's not a huge, it's never been our budget, right? Like that we put a vacancy bad debt allowance in, but we don't meet it generally. So haven't, obviously during COVID, that was a very exceptional time. Hopefully we don't get back to that, but, um, and again, it's a function of screening the tenants properly on the outset. I'm not saying it can't happen. Obviously, you got to be prepared for the worst. And you know what? When we did our budgets this year, I was talking to my COO and we were talking about vacancy, and I'm like, ratchet it up a bit. I mean, who knows what the trade war is gonna, who knows what sort of damage it's going to inflict. I think we got off okay yesterday. It seems like it. I guess we'll have to. It's amazing how everyone can have a different spin on it depending on, I guess, what party you want to win and what your take on
Isn't
it
it
is. But
crazy?
yeah, I mean, it seemed like if the three of us had this call 4 months ago or whatever it was when Trump first started talking about tariffs, the prevailing wisdom was, or the conventional wisdom was, yeah, there'll be some tariffs on Canada, it won't be too bad. That's exactly what happened. So we went through this spell of complete misery and internal angst and strife. And personally, I think it's insane the backlash against America. You can love or hate Trump. It's up to you. I don't care either way. Make your opinions to what felt. It doesn't bother me. But Americans in America are not our enemy. They're our closest ally. And maybe I say that because I live there a long time. I do a lot of business there. I travel there personally. Family has property there. Like, but it's just so stupid. And I personally think that was the liberals just trying to create the boogeyman to say, oh, you gotta vote for us. You gotta support us because we will help you from the big bad Americans. And I don't know. Looking at yesterday, I think it's almost like he's creating this sort of fortress America around us. We'll see what happens when they try to renegotiate USMCA. But
Yeah, it could
you
benefit
know,
us, right? I mean, a strong American economy could benefit us, and he's obviously trying to look out for, the U.S. economy and being part of our free trade agreement. I mean, even on the automotive side, what vehicles would qualify for tariff and what wouldn't, could easily overpass any tariffs having to be
sure.
paid from the Canadian side, so or from the American side from products going over there. So like I felt like it was a huge win. I didn't really feel the sentiment out there. Felt the same way. I felt like the world reacted to the tariffs more than maybe what Canadians have, and so of course the global economy is affected.
Yeah, I
But
mean, the market's not taking it well. I mean, at the end of the
yeah,
day, what does this mean? I mean, the simplest thing to me is like price of everything's just going to go up in
yeah,
America
yeah,
because everything they bring in, which is a lot of stuff, is gonna cost more. From your cell phone to your cereal, I guess, right? So,
hmm,
and that doesn't seem like a good move, but I don't know how it plays out. Trump's got a limited shelf life, notwithstanding a lot of the rhetoric out there. So we'll see. But I can't imagine that Canada being aligned with America, on policy is a bad move for Canada at this
yeah.
point. We could go through all the policy proposals ad nauseum, but I don't know. Even though I was having this discussion with someone this morning, like I don't export anything to America. It's not my business model. I guess to some extent, if there's reciprocal tariffs, possibly stuff I bring in for renovations and repairs is coming from America and will go up if there's reciprocal tariffs, but not significantly. But if it has an impact on GM, I'm sure there's someone that's in my web that has some connection to it, or somebody was explaining to me Magna, like, you know,
Mhm.
that's what they do. They make auto parts. in
Huge.
Canada.
Yeah.
And what are they, 40,000 people?
Yeah.
So that's serious. So
And the
I
banks
don't
are
know.
starting to say now too, if you're in one of those industries, steel, aluminum, automotive, they're going to be scrutinizing their mortgage applications a little bit more too.
Yeah.
New
So that's just
applications.
like COVID, like servers and all that kind of stuff. In the States, did you ever were you ever, selling buildings in the States where you utilized the 1031 exchange? Was that
Oh,
ever something
good
that
job, TK.
you
Yeah. Well,
used
I hope they
before?
bring that in here.
Good
No, we
job.
didn't. The deals we went in and out of, we just sort of isolated and brought the money back at the time. But lately, we've just been holding what we have for the long term. So I haven't sold anything in a while. But when we did, it was just to repatriate the money.
But
Um,
you said that you hope that they bring it here. So if that was an option here in Canada, how would that impact your guys' business model?
Oh, it would, and again, another buddy of mine was saying, the velocity, European friend of mine, the velocity of money. I mean, that's what we need here, and that would be tremendous. Obviously, TK, in your business, I'm telling you, it'll trickle. People just are sitting on assets, especially apartment buildings, as a great example, because they keep saying, "What am I going to do with the money after tax?" And now, if like they can take that money, and I don't know what exactly the restrictions are as
Hmm.
far as asset
What would
class.
qualify?
I'm assuming it's real estate, but I guarantee you it's REITs. So all of a sudden you take one building that's been a pain in your ass for 10 years with repairs and whatever. And now you can buy, and you got $1 million in equity, you can buy $1 million in REIT shares that, may fluctuate a bit, but you're going to get a yield, or even bank shares, or, energy companies, or something stable, right? Or reinvested in, something else. It's tremendous. It should have been like a default position.
Right.
These are bad policies that they precipitated, and during election cycles. I happen to think that you may or may not disagree, but I think that the homeowner exemption on taxes on the gain, I think that should be repealed, but in favor of mortgage deductibility. Just that will probably balance it out. So I'm not saying if you have a house now, you have to pay tax on your gain, but
You're gonna get
You're
killed in
gonna
the
get
comments, Jason. That's
killed,
just
bro.
maybe
that's
that's all
that's
right.
That's
that's
okay.
a sensitive one. Yeah.
I'm sure it is, but if you weigh it out, and you weigh that out in the terms of capital gains, et cetera, you have to look at the whole policy, right?
Hmm.
And obviously Canadians have become sort of addicted to that, but I think that is sort of entrenched people in their home asset longer than they probably would have anyway. I don't know. It's hard to say, right? I mean, I follow the housing market only to the extent that it has an impact on, really on rents and condo sales and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
who knows?
Are you looking for the best merch store on the planet? Well, we got the shit for you. Coming in at low prices where we barely make any money off of whatsoever, you can get the greatest real estate merchandise on this platform. Just look at this very flamboyant man putting on this great stuff. He looks great, he's dancing great, and boy does he look sexy in that merchandise. I tell you, buy this for anybody, you buy this for yourself. You will be not only repping the greatest Canadian real estate podcast in this world, but you will also be looking hella good doing it.